Yo, what's up guys, this is flexondatrack from knockrers, and today I'm gonna show you how to make New York drill beats for fivio foreign. This is the beat I'm gonna be breaking down to you guys. Before I start explaining on how I made the beat, I'm gonna let Keymajor break the loop down first for you guys.
Yo, what's up with y'all? It's Keymajor. Today I'm gonna be breaking this loop down that Flex ended up making a beat with. Here's how the loop sounds. So that's a little bit real dark and ambient, gives like a creepy vibe. Now I'm gonna go break it down. So for the first sound, I use these Rhodes from stage 73, and the melody sounds like this. So how I came up with this melody was I played these notes on my MIDI keyboard, and then I added this C sharp to add some variety to the beginning of the loop, and then I just did Alt S to strum the notes, and then Alt R to mess with the velocity. This just makes it sound more normal, like someone's actually playing the keys. So for the effects, I did a little bit of stereo separation, added a reverb just to give it that ambience effect. I turned the mix knob down, added a chorus, same thing, to the mix knob down, and then I just EQ'd the lows. The next sound I added was this piano from Oliver's Piano. For this melody, I just copied the first one over. The effects, added a bit more stereo separation, added more reverb, and then I just EQ the lows out. The next sound I added was this flute from Contact. It's actually one of Contact's stock banks. It sounds like this. For the effects, I just lowered the volume a little bit, added some reverb again, added an RC20 to give it that vintage feel. I used the Vinyl 3 preset, I took off the noise, and then I just EQ'd a lot of the lows and a little bit of the highs. Alright, so the next sound I use is this Omnisphere. It's like a bell with a ton of reverb. It sounds like this. It just repeats over, and it just added to that creepy ambient feel. For the effects, I did a little bit of stereo separation, added a lot of reverb, and then just EQ'd the lows and highs just to leave the mid frequencies. The next sound I added was this one shot bass. Sounds like this. It just follows the root note of the original melody. For the effects, I just added a little bit of stereo shaper. I just EQ'd a little bit of the lows and a ton of the highs. The next sound I added was these vocals. I just pitched it up to be in key, and it sounds like this. For the effects, I did some stereo separation, I added some reverb, and I EQ'd the lows and highs. The last thing I added was I duplicated the vocals, and I just reversed them, and I just pitched them up a whole octave, and now they sound like this. For the effects, I just lowered the volume a little bit and added a lot of reverb. That was it for the loop. For the arrangement, I didn't really do much. I didn't really add any effects or automation clips. I kept it pretty bare and simple. The last thing I did was I exported the loop with the stems, and I pitched it up 200 cents. Now you have the final loop. But that was it for the loop, man. I really hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new. I'm gonna pass it back to Flex, and I'll see you on the next video.
In New York drill, they usually use a snare or a rim shot, and I chose to use a rim shot for this beat. I'll show you guys the pattern with the metronome on so you can hear the rhythm of it. For drill, you usually put it on the third beat, and for the second one you put it on the fourth beat as I highlighted, and then the green notes, as you can see, are just to put a different rhythm in between them. For this drill beat I chose to use two hi-hats. This is what they sound like. To make them more interesting, I play with the velocity and I always hand them to each side. This is the second hi-hat pattern. So as you can see, I played a lot with the velocity. I put them really low and the other ones like in the middle. Just keeps it bouncy. And then for the panning, I just randomized it. After that, I used the perk for ear candy, and this is what it sounds like. Then I added an open head. Then I added some drill shots. Then I just put a crash. After that, I added a hit. So this is the part I'll be waiting for. This is the 808. I'll play it for you guys first. Then this is the kick I added. Now I will explain my mixing process to you guys. For the kick, I put it in mono, and you do that by dragging this knob to the right. This is stereo, this is mono. I added a parametric EQ, which boosts the highs and a little bit of the mids, cuts off the lows. And the secret for drill beats is a soft clipper on the kick that makes your drums knock really hard. Now for the 808, I put a parametric EQ on it, and as you can see, it boosts the low mids and the mids, and then boosted the lows a little bit and cut off the highs. I also added a soft clipper, and for the limiter, I use this for side chaining, and this will actually make your kick come in first, and then the 808 will slightly come after. For the rim shot, I put a parametric EQ on it, which just boosts the highs, and I put a reverb on it and cut off the lows on here, and I put a soft clipper on it. Then I routed these two by holding control left click, and then route it by holding right click and route to this track only, so I could put effects on both of these tracks on one track. And I used an EQ, a vintage verb, through the distortion, and some delay. For the perk, I didn't use anything except for a parametric EQ. For the open high, I used a delay, fruity reverb, and a parametric EQ, which cuts off the lows and boosts the highs. For the gunshot, I added a delay, a reverb, and same EQ basically. For the crash, I didn't add anything on it. For the hit, I used an EQ, a reverb, and also a delay. And for the melody itself, I put a vintage verb on it, I put delay on it, I put stereo shaper on it, I put a loft filter on it with the automation clip on certain parts. For in the bridge, for example, I cut off a little bit of the mids, like the harsh spots, and a saturator. For the arrangement, I use the stems of the melody, so it's easier to know what melodies I can layer and what not, as you can see. I made the ambient melody unique, and I put the two semitones up, and I did the same for this sound. Then I took the other one and pitched it one down. It will create a much darker sound when it transitions. For the chorus, I cut the 808 and the kick out, and then for the verse, I just did some cutting parts, just some regular things, nothing too crazy, and I added some rises and some whooshes to keep the beat more interesting. And in the intro, I added some rain, as you can see, and I automated it, and it fades out when the beat is about to drop. So this was my tutorial on how I made a drill beat for Fivio Foreign. I hope you learned something new. Shout out to Keymajor for the melody. Go follow his Instagram, go follow mine as well. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, all that, comment, share, like, you know what to do. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.